Hello, beautiful creatives. I am hoping that the video that I have planned for you guys this week is not a bit over ambitious, because I was sent from two different reps, two different sets of Paul Rubens watercolor. This is from the rep that I normally work with, Karen, and I love working with Karen. But this is the fourth generation of Paul Rubens Artists Watercolor. So this is their professional watercolors, and it's a set of 36 5 ml tubes. And this is from a different rep that I haven't worked with before, and she sent the Qiaomei watercolor set, and it's 12 mLs and 24 colors. So what I would like to do is swatch these both out and compare them, because this is the student grade and it's less expensive, and this is the professional grade and it's more expensive. So I thought it would be fun to just see them swatched out. So when I looked at Amazon today, the professional set of watercolors, the fourth generation artist watercolors, was $79.99, and there's currently a 10% coupon. Karen did give me a coupon code. I don't know how that's going to work with a coupon code that's already on Amazon, but I will put the links below and give it a try. Take the coupon code and see if you can get both to work. I just won't know until somebody tries to check out with it. And then this set, the student set, is $35. So these are larger tubes, less colors, more colors, smaller tubes. So I'm not going to even do the math on how that works out on quantity. So what I've done is I've already made out my charts on two different pages, one for the fourth generation Paul Rubens and one for the Qiaomei watercolor set. Qiaomei, by the way, means pretty beautiful. So, Qiao means pretty and Mei means beautiful. So I'm going to jump right to it and get to doing this swatching, because I have a feeling it's going to take a while. I'll probably do some voiceovers with some information that I was sent about each set, and let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to show you the inside of the boxes quickly so that we can get right to it. And like I said, I'll probably voice over some more details while I'm swatching. But it comes with a standard little palette insert, that these things come with. What I actually think I'm not going to do during this video is go over all the pigment information. These tubes do have the pigment information and the light fastness. If you're really interested in that information, I'll point you to Lindsay's, the Frugal Crafters page, and I'll put a link below my video. Because I'm an expressive artist, an intuitive artist, I just am not that interested in the pigment information, and I think most of my followers who do expressive art and intuitive art aren't either. But Lindsay does a great job on that sort of stuff. She really knows her stuff. So I will leave that to her, and I'm just interested in color, opacity, richness of pigmentation, and that sort of stuff. So this is the Qiaomei set. And this is the fourth generation. They always have the nicest boxes on their professional. They're like velvet. They're so beautiful. So this is the size comparison of the tubes. This is the 12 ml and this is the 5 ml. So that gives you an idea. There's a lot more paint in the student set, just fewer colors. And I'll give you a little glimpse of them side by side, just so you can see them open side by side. And I'm going to start swatching the larger set, the professional set. And because this is such a slow process with swatching out of tubes like this, I probably will just either voice over some of it and music over some of it. See, I think I'm going to use the tray that Michael gave me to put dabs. Actually, these tubes are so small, I'm wondering if I should just dab this directly onto the paper and see what happens with that. Let me see how that works out for me. See if that's something that's going to work or not. I have 2 jars of water probably just off screen. That makes a real thick bit at the top. Okay, and I put little lines in here to show opacity. Just trying to get a feel for how much paint I can actually put down without overloading these tiny squares. So that's Naples yellow. It's funny, I don't swatch watercolors that often, so it's a little bit to get used to doing it again. Lemon yellow. Doesn't seem to be any binder issues with these at all. Right off the bat. It's kind of a greenish yellow. Put a lot down there. Put a real lot down there. I have to be more careful or start doing it differently. Well, shoot, I just realized that my camera wasn't running, and without looking back at the video, I don't know how much of this I have swatched out without being actually on, you know, having the camera on. So, poo, sorry about that, you guys. That's too bad, but, I mean, I think swatching's kind of boring anyway, so I don't think you missed much. You get to see what the color looks like. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there is the Paul Rubens Artist's 4th generation professional set of colors. And they are beautiful colors. The only time they came out shiny was when I applied them super, super thick. So like you saw me squeezing the tubes out. Those are the only areas that got shiny on them. And honestly, I can't see that you would apply this watercolor that thick in the areas where it was applied more like you would normally use it. And then as a tint, there's absolutely no shininess. So I love that about them, because that's one of the things that I don't care for so much with the Kiratakis, is that you can so easily get a shine with those. But these are richly pigmented. They do have some granulation in some of them. Most of them don't seem to be granulating. They're really rich in pigment, really finely ground, and I think they're quite lovely. The colors are so chromatic and beautiful. Okay, so it is the next day. It's the 21st, so it's the winter solstice, and it's Thursday. So I have got to finish this video up today if I'm going to get it edited and put together in time to upload tomorrow. But yesterday I swatched out the Paul Rubens 4th generation professional watercolors for you guys. And today we are going to do the Qiaomei watercolors. So that's their professional grade. This is their student grade. And I'm going to swatch this set out to compare with the professional set. And then what I would like to do is I'd actually like to fool around with them a little bit. If I end up not having time to do that in this video, I think what I'll do is I'll film a separate video playing around with them and post it on Patreon this week. So we'll just see. We'll see how time goes. Don is at the hospital today having his surgery on his wrist and his elbow. So I'm hoping that I actually am able to get this done. And I have a lot that I need to do today. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. What I'll probably do is speed up all of the swatching and then, in order to try to make some time for the play. But let's go. Let's roll with this. I think this time what I'm going to do is put little dabs on this tray that Michael gave me and work that way, because these are larger tubes and I have a feeling that just too much paint is going to come out if I try to do it the way that I did the Paul Rubens professional paints. So we'll just do it this way. I'll put out some little dabs and then we'll do the swatching. Okay guys, well I did it again. I have so much on my mind that I turned off the camera to put the dots out on the tray, and then when I turned it back on, I mean when I started swatching, I forgot that I hadn't turned it back on, and then I forgot that I hadn't done a wash on this one, so this is probably going to bloom really bad now that I've hit it again. But yeah, that's twice I've done that in this video where I forgot to turn the camera back on, so sorry about that. Okay, so the colors look pretty on the tray. There is the Qiaomei student quality watercolors swatched out. So I'm going to let these dry, and then we will compare the two pages a little bit. But then what I think I'm going to do is play around a little bit with putting some side by side. And this swatch book, people always ask me about this swatch book. This is just a really cheap dollar store swatch book. This is not anything special. It's just something that I started using, oh gosh, probably a couple of years ago. And, you know, swatching acrylics and gouache in, and I just liked having everything in one place. So I continued all of my swatching in there. So it's nothing special. And what I think I will do is get out some better quality paper and play around with these two different sets of watercolors side by side and see how they compare that way. So my first thoughts on these are that, again, these didn't go shiny unless you put them on thickly. Now, they may have, this is the student set, so the Qiaomei set. So they may have had a tendency to shine a little more quickly than the other ones, but that's still pretty thickly applied. I don't think shininess would be an issue with these if you just use them regularly. You know, on this one, I was squeezing out of the tube, so there were some areas where I just really applied it quite thickly at the top, and that's what caused the shine on those. That's the binder. So I think they're really good that way. If you really don't like the shininess in your watercolors, I think these are both good sets. I do like the earth tones in the Qiaomei set better. It's not that I think the pigmentation is better so much. It's that I just happen to like the selection that they have. They do have burnt sienna in both sets. This is a very rich, deep burnt sienna compared to the student quality set. But they don't have, let's see, they have brown umber in the professional set. I got to make sure I stay on screen here. They have brown umber, but I feel like they're really, you know, I really like the earth tones: burnt umber, Van Dyke brown, raw umber, and burnt sienna. And out of all of those, they only have the burnt sienna in the professional set. So I would kind of really miss these in the professional set, because these are some of my favorite browns. You know, it's not that you couldn't mix some good browns with some of these other earth tones. This is Venetian red, Indian red. I love those colors. I'm real glad that it has burnt sienna. The brown umber I wish was more like a burnt umber or a Van Dyke brown. I'm not caring for this burnt umber, this brown umber, sorry. The greens, there's obviously more greens in the professional set because there's more tubes of paint. I like the greens. I like the selection of greens. I think I like the student grade sap green color a little better than the sap green in the professional set. But I think you can really see the quality upgrade in the colors in the professional set. But here's the thing. If you are just playing with these paints in your sketchbook and you're really not worried about having the highest quality pigmentation, then I think the student set is really nice. I think it's a really nice set of paint. I'm trying to find, like, this is the cobalt blue hue. This is cobalt blue light, so it's not actually the same color, but there's just a depth of color and a richness to these professional paints. But you know, these are nice. The student set is really nice, and for the price difference, it could be the difference between buying this one and that one depending on your budget. I do like all the colors. I really like the really rich purples, the quinacridone maroon, quinacridone violet, great mixing colors, quinacridone rose. Really love some of these colors, the extra earth tone reds. I love the transparent yellow, earth yellow. I love that it has Naples yellow. Yeah, it's got a lot of great colors in this. So, yeah, that's, you know, I think this is a great set of paints. I really do. If you don't mind having less colors, which you can probably do some great mixing in these. Okay, so I'm going to read you a little bit about what the two different reps told me about each set of watercolors. So with the, make sure I'm showing you the right one. Okay, with the Qiaomei watercolors, what she has said is, they are, let's see, Qiaomei watercolor tubes have a larger capacity than some well-known brands of watercolors, such as Rembrandt, Winsor & Newton, Daniel Smith, and others. This watercolor paint set provides 24 vibrant colors, 12 mLs, or 0.4 fluid ounce tubes, made from extra fine gum arabic, which increases the gloss and transparency of watercolors and also heightens the intensity of the colors and makes the paint more soluble. It comes with high light fastness and strong continuity, perfect for mixing and blending, and Paul Rubens never uses synthetic fillers to substitute for rare pigments. Huh, I didn't know that. High quality pigmented Qiaomei watercolor tubes adopt ultra pure pigment, which has been delicately grounded that makes it not easy. Their wording is a little weird sometimes. That makes it not easy to get gray or produce scrap. So what they mean is that they're pure colors and they mix together well, and it's not as easy to get mud mixing them together. You can see there are just micro differences when it's wet or dry. Yeah, that's interesting. That was something I did notice. They stayed pretty true to color. They kept their vibrancy when they dried. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see. Qiaomei watercolor tubes are kid safe as they are acid free and easy to work with. I will put links for all of this under the video. Okay. So that's what they had to say about, that rep had to say about the Qiaomei watercolors. Now, Paul Rubens, this is the rep that I've worked with for a long time now. This is the larger professional set. So what Karen had to say was, the watercolor set is the Paul Rubens 4th generation of artists grade watercolors. That is Paul Rubens' latest and most advanced artist grade watercolor. The paints in this set are clearer and have better transparency than previous artist's grade set. About the single pigment. Most of the paints are single pigment, which is great news for artists who like to mix colors. I'm sure you also know that single pigment is very important for mixing colors. The watercolor of single pigment, try saying that 3 times fast. I lost my place, is more clear and pure so that the colors don't get muddy when mixed. The quality of these paints is very similar to some of the well-known brands, such as acknowledged by artists who have previously reviewed this set of watercolors. Okay, so prior artists that have tried these and given their feedback on them felt that these were comparable to other top name brands. While Paul Rubens remains true to its philosophy of providing high-quality, affordable art supplies, this set comes at a very affordable price. People can buy high-quality artist-grade watercolors at a lower price than other brands. I am sure many people are looking for a set of watercolors like this. Kind of cute the way they word things. And then I will put the coupon code link below and links to Amazon. And if they are still having the sale, like I said earlier, you can try and see if you can get both codes to work. I have a feeling you might have to just choose one code, but I don't know. Who knows? I have had companies give me codes before, and then people went on Amazon and were able to get the extra discount. I do not have a coupon code for the Qiaomei. I forget if when I looked if they were having a sale. It doesn't look like it. I didn't write any notes, but that doesn't mean there won't be one by the time this goes live because companies are always popping coupon codes on. So those are the two sets of paint. So what I'd like to do now is just get some different paper, some higher quality actual watercolor paper, and just compare some of these colors side by side and see, you know, what they look like, how they lay down, and then just do a little bit of playing with them to see how they respond, but like right next to each other for comparison. Okay, so let me get things ready for that. See you in a minute. Okay, so I got out my Canson watercolor pad. This is, let's see, what does it say this is? 10 by 7 inches, 140 pound, 300 G. Yeah, so it's Canson Montvale watercolor paper. It says it's their artist series. So I'm going to work on this paper. I'm thinking it'd be fun to lay down some paint side by side from each set. So let me figure out what colors they have that are similar. Maybe we'll try those two next to each other. Cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow pale hue. So let's see. Put the student grade one first. And the professional one second. Oh, they're completely different colors. That's interesting. Oh, I'd have to get a magnifying glass out to read what the pigment is, but okay, so I got out my magnifying glass and I was thinking, well, I could compare pigment numbers, but I gotta revert back to the fact that I'm an expressive artist. I'm not really interested in that stuff. So again, I'll put links below to Lindsay's, the Frugal Crafters site below. So if you really want to do a deep dive, there's also some other YouTubers that do really deep dives into pigment and on watercolors. And I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested in playing. So I am just going to pop down. So this is the Qiaomei student watercolor. We'll just see how this lays down. Qiaomei. I think I say it different every time I say it. So, and this is the Paul Rubens does feel thicker when I'm laying it down. Let me just try like okay, this one is the student grade. See if this compares more to the the professional one there. A little closer in color. It's a different pigment, but like we said, we're not going to worry too much about that. Try a couple of the reds. Cad red pale and cad red light. Okay, we'll try those two. So let's see, the first one we'll do is the student grade. And then the Paul Rubens 4th Generation Artist Grade. There's an air bubble in that one. Okay, so this is the student range. There's a lot of paint on there. And then this is the 4th Generation. You know, I think both sets really lay down nicely. They really do. I should have made marks on this. So remember, this was student and this was professional, student, professional. Now I don't remember what that one was. I think it was professional, but I don't remember, so I won't mark it. You guys will have seen it on the video, so you will remember better than I am remembering. A little bit of granulation. I really like that. I'm liking it full strength, the mass tone. I mean, side by side. Let's let them dry and see. Let's try a blue. What do we got that's similar in blues? Okay, this one is cobalt blue hue. And then in the professional set, this is cobalt blue light. So it's not a complete match, but we'll just try them side by side. So again, the student one first. And then the professional one, it's going to be a lighter version, supposedly, because this is light. Let's see what the blues look like. They're actually similar. I mean, you can tell that this is the lighter version, but they're not that far off. It's ground so fine. I was going to say the granulation is so fine in this. Let's go back and see what happens if we try to make it bloom. See how it looks with blooms. Okay, I'm going to let that sit for a minute and see how it does. Okay, so these have been sitting for a couple of minutes with water on them, and I was able to get really nice blooms with them. It did seem like the professional bloomed more. You could get more of a bloom. I have a feeling the professional would be more free-flowing, which we'll test out in a minute. And these were drier. These swatches were drier when I put the water on. So I thought what I would do is just see how it lifted. And it actually is lifting nicely. So, oh, wow. So the student one really lifts. The professional, which would make sense, the professional is a little more heavy staining because it's got a higher pigment load. And it's probably finer ground. So that is how the professional lifted there. Let me get another paper towel. Yeah, actually, I don't remember what that one was. You guys will have seen it on the videos. So those ones dried out more. So it's a little hard to tell on there. But they do lift. The student lifts. In the case with the cadmium red, the student lifted more. The professional bloomed more, which all makes sense. If the professional has a higher pigment load, it would be more staining and it would lift. I mean, it would bloom more. So the other test that I wanted to do was to take a couple of colors. Let's take a green since we haven't played with the green too much. We'll take, I think there's a sap green in each set. Let's see. This is this professional sap green. And, okay, so this is the student sap green. So I'm going to put a blob of that on my tray. Let's see. So student and then the professional sap green side by side. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the paper. I'll just wet a big area of the paper, really wet. Get it really, really wet. Let it soak in. Because what I want to see is I want to see how well these paints spread. So I'm going to put a big blob. This is the student. Oh, it is moving nicely. Because now I did remember with the Mi Lang, the Mi Langs didn't have great flow. You know, they kind of were opaque, and there's things that I liked about that. But let me just give this a squirt, and it does have really nice flow. Okay, so that's the student one. So let's just see what the pro one does. I make sure I got enough water on here. Got so much water, it's going to run off. Yeah, it does move well. These paints do flow. They don't just sit in place. Completely different colors though. But what's interesting with this is it's almost like the pigment in the student set is kind of washing away. Whereas no matter how much water I seem to put on the professional set, so this is the Qiaomei set, and this is the professional set. It just seems to be wiping the pigment out a little bit on this set, and it seems to be, the pigment seems to be holding really well. Even though it is flowing, it's holding really well. So that also would make sense, because that would mean that this is just a richer, more heavily pigmented paint. So what I will do now, I think I will take a little bit more pigment on this one because it's kind of washed itself out with all that water. And maybe even a little more pigment in this one. I didn't have as much on the tray. These tubes are small. I do have to say they are very small in the professional set. Okay, so those both have a lot of pigment on there, and they're very wet. Let's see what happens if I sprinkle salt on them. Okay, so I am going to sprinkle some salt on here. I just realized before that I had forgotten to put my mic back on, so there's probably going to be a big change in sound in this last section of this video. I apologize, guys. I have so much going on right now in my mind. I'm feeling a little stressed, and yeah, so I'm making some mistakes, but that's fine. We all have a lot going on, right? So I put some salt on there. We'll wait and see what happens to see if each one acts a little differently with the salt. So I'm going to pause the video here, let the salt do its thing, and then see what happens. At this point, the video is probably getting a little long, so I may have to end up doing some exploring and playing around with them in a video and pop that on Patreon. But for right now, here is the salt test, and I will be back to show you how that turns out. While I'm waiting for the salt to dry on those two samples, I decided to try one more test, and I got out the Gamboge in the student grade and the Indian yellow in the professional grade, and I put those two out, and I'm going to try some alcohol on a patch of them and see what happens with that. I'll make some areas of it thicker, some areas of it thinner, and just see what happens with an alcohol effect on these. So that's the gamboge. And this is the Indian yellow. Real thick on the top. And then water it down below. Just see what happens. Looks like it's having really nice effects with the alcohol. Wow, that's lovely. This is the alcohol effect on the student grade and on the Paul Rubens 4th generation. So they both worked really well with the alcohol. If this had been a darker color, I'm sure it would have shown up, you know, like this was done on a darker color. So the alcohol worked really great. What I did was afterwards, I took a spray bottle with a little bit of alcohol in it and sprayed it. And you can see that it moved this pigment a little more easily than this pigment with a very light spray. And again, that just speaks to how staining and how pigment rich the professional would be. So it really depends on what you like, how you'd like it to perform. I'm going to take the salt off of this now. It's not 100% dry, but along the same lines. Well, let me take the salt off first. So I probably pushed this a little too quickly, this salt effect, because these were still wet. But the student quality and the professional quality, this was still quite wet. It could have worked longer, but it makes sense that the student quality moved more than the professional quality, as it has in all of the other tests. I even tried putting down a little bit of a thicker, because this was so thin, and it didn't move. It did move some, but this was gorgeous, the starbursts and the student quality. And what I'm going to do now is flip this over, and I'm going to try one more test. I really have to wrap this up. Don had his surgery today, and his daughter just texted me from the hospital, and the hospital is about an hour away, but he is going to be home soon. So I really want to wrap this up. Now, I'm going to try granulating meeting, and I'm going to try it medium meeting, and I'm going to try it in 2 different ways. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm so scattered. I don't know if I said his surgery went very well. Thank you all so much for your prayers. It went very, very well. So this is the student grade with the granulating medium, and I'm not experienced with granulating medium, so you guys can tell me in the comments if I did this experiment totally wrong. You know, maybe I should have mixed the paint with it. I don't know. But I guess on the bottom of each of these, I'll try adding more granulating medium. I can't talk. I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush so much so that I can have everything ready for when Dawn gets home from the hospital. Just try to add some more of the medium here and play around with it. Put a thinner coat of the paint. That's the student grade. Thinner coat of the professional. Maybe even go and try to dab some in afterwards just to see what happens. No idea how this is going to work. So I'm going to let that sit, and I'll show you that when it's dried up. I think I forgot to tell you what colors these were that I put the granulating medium in. The student one was Permanent Rose, and the Paul Rubens was Quinacridone Maroon. And this is kind of the flip of the other experiments. It didn't seem to do that much with the student grade, but it did do nice granulation with the professional one. So that could be put to user error. I'm not sure. You know, I'm using the product right. I never really did any research on it after I bought it. I just sort of played with it, but it did do a nice granulation here. I don't know, probably need to experiment with it more to tell. So that is the granulation medium. That is the alcohol. This was putting water on and then removing the water, so liftability. And this was doing some blooms on purpose, and that was the salt technique. So it gives you an idea of how it responds, how each different set responds to different techniques. And I got to say, I really like them both. I think they're both nice. And I think it depends on how you paint and what you're looking for in your watercolors. Being an expressive artist, it's not that important to me to have really high quality paints, but I do love all the colors in this set. So it's just, I guess it's up to personal taste. I don't find that one set excels that much over the other. Maybe a professional watercolorist would, but I think they're both great sets. So look for all the links below the video. I am going to sign off and get ready to welcome my husband home from the hospital and to pamper him and take care of him for the next 3 weeks while he heals. Thanks to all of you who have prayed for him. And yeah, you guys are great. I really appreciate all your thoughts and prayers through everything that we're going through. Take care, guys, and I hope you have a really great and creative week and a wonderful holiday. If you are celebrating Christmas, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. And yeah, get some creating done. I hope a lot of you get art supplies for Christmas. Take care, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.